The question is, how to know if a specific article spun or handwritten?
First answer by Coolcat. I can usually recognize a spun article because a lot of the time it just doesn't sound right. Some words are out of context, the grammar is incorrect, and when people don't go over the spun article to correct it, you can get some real gibberish in some parts of the article. Second answer by Info Guy. Usually a spinner examines your text and offers a variety of synonyms as words or phrases to replace terms in the article being spun. In theory, a human editor then goes and checks for appropriateness and makes the final choice. Some folks though are lazy or perhaps don't speak English as a first language, and so some odd phrasing occurs, and those could be from spinners. Many don't care because their articles are only supposed to be Google bait and to give backlink support to another website. Some ways to more likely detect human authorship are: Number 1, personal style. People who love to write and do so for a living are often much more clever than spinners and database-driven articles will ever be. They move beyond the sound or feel of technical, informative writing. That might be a clue. Of course, I suppose PJ O'Rourke could use a spinner on one of his articles, but in general, his writing is more for actual reader, and so he won't spin it just to place it all over the web for backlinks. Number 2, minimal keyword variation. Keyword variation in a spun article must be manually input for best results, but even most editors will not input the variety of keywords necessary as options to give spun. An over-optimized page for one keyword or an article where there is minimal variation can be the result of a spinner or human author who is not writing expert content naturally but in order to keep a search engine happy, so these are possible ways to tell a difference. Database-driven article generators like Article Builder mix content at a higher level than the word phrase by combining well-written human text with more expert content to produce a better result. Third answer by Libby. Many times you can recognize that an article has been spun, only if the person does not take the time to read what they are creating and publish it with a tool, relying solely on the tool to do their manual work process. When this method is done, the content usually will not make any sense while reading it. On the other hand, if the person took their time, and used perhaps PLR content, and then respun it with a tool like the Best Spinner, it could be more difficult to determine if the person wrote it theirself or spun it. I would suggest taking the time to proofread any content you plan on putting your name to, or even your pen name. It will not matter so much to the read if the content was spun or original, but more importantly that it made sense to what they were seeking information on for that content topic. Hope this helps you. Fourth answer by Cristiano. Let me answer it in a different way. Here, we have Coolcat's answer. I can usually recognize a spun article because a lot of the time it just doesn't sound right. Some words are out of context, the grammar is incorrect, and when people don't go over the spun article to correct it, you can get some real gibberish in some parts of the article. Now, after spin using quick rewrite option in a software, I'm not using the Best Spinner, I'm using a free spinner. I will usually recognize a spun article because a great deal of some time it really doesn't sound right. Some text is from context, the grammar is incorrect when people don't talk about the spun article to correct it. You can obtain some real gibberish using some elements of this content. And now, using auto rewrite option, I can usually realize a spun article because almost daily it just doesn't profound right. Many words are out of context. This grammar will be incorrect, so when people will not go over the spun write-up to write it, you can get some actual gibberish in certain parts informed. Each bolded expression is completely out of context in my opinion. It happens because that too lonely replaces them for synonyms, doesn't considering context. I didn't test it in the Best Spinner now, but it doesn't analyze context too. There is a tool called wordai promising to consider context when spinning text, so it shouldn't happen, but I'm not sure if it's true. If you want to get a good spun text without so many errors, you should have each phrase rewritten by human at least 3 times and, so, spin manually words and expressions. If you do it correctly, it's very difficult to look at final result and say if it was handwritten or spun. Visit www.thebestspinner.co and www.articlebuilder.co.